Tony Schiavi, the Ashland Town Manager. Tony, how are things going?
Hello everyone and welcome to Around the Clock. My name is Mark Jewett.
And I'm Yolanda Greaves. Welcome to our May 8th taping of Around the Clock. Mark, what do we have in store today?
All kinds of good stuff, Yolanda. We're going to have our update on the Selectmen's meetings. Our last meeting was April 30th, and then we're going to talk a little bit about town meeting that happened just last night. We're going to have our Ask the Clock segment, and today we're going to announce the winner of the pothole contest.
We've had some good submissions.
Had some big submissions.
Yeah.
Right, but I will say DPW's out and about filling those holes.
They are.
So we thank them as usual. Special guest today is Joe White. Joe's the founder, or co-founder actually, of the Ashland Community Theater. Joe's going to come on and interview with you.
Yeah, I look forward to speaking with him about the projects that they have coming forward.
And for our town personnel segment, we'll have Town Manager Anthony Schiavi. He's going to come on and tell us the results and update on last night's town meeting.
Great.
We'll have a very full around the clock town tour today. We've got several segments. We had firearms training with the police down at the DPW yard. It was Green Up Ashland Day last weekend. We got some film from that. We got a little announcement from the Ashland Music and Arts Festival, as well as a presentation by the Decisions at Every Turn committee. So full show today, Yolanda.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so we'll be right back with our Selectmen update. Please stick with us. This is Around the Clock. All right, welcome back to Around the Clock. So Yolanda, we're going to talk about the April 30th Selectmen's meeting.
Right, we didn't tape after that meeting because the following week we're doing town meetings, so we figured we'd sort of keep it all together. So we had a very full meeting. It was a meeting, we were there past 10 o'clock.
And
I know, I tried keeping it under that 10 o'clock time frame, but we talked about a lot of good things. We had our follow-up and continuation of the Fusion hearing. They had been some issues there where they were doing some overpouring. People were leaving the restaurant, doing some issues with DUI charges. Police were finding them, and so we needed to handle that. I think there was some good discussion by the board members as to what the penalties needed to be, and I think we came up with a good solution. They'll have a couple of weekends where the restaurant will be open to still serve food, but they won't be able to serve alcohol. They've also agreed to adding some tips training and getting their wait staff and their bar staff up to speed and making sure they can see what it means when someone has had a few too many.
Yeah, as well as having an officer on duty on Friday nights.
Yeah. So the restaurant was willing to work with us, which I think was important. They understood our importance and our stress on the safety of the citizens, not just the people leaving the restaurant, but the people who are driving by or might interact with these people leaving their restaurant. So that was favorable. We got to do one of the fun things. We got to acknowledge the retirement of Dublin, the Ashland Fire Department rescue dog.
To all the members of the Ashland Fire Department who spent countless hours in the woods hiding for Dublin when it was when we were preparing for her certification. All the bug bites, the mosquito bites, the tick bites. I apologize for all those. The past 11 years working with Dublin, training with her, going for our certification, working with her as a partner has been both the most challenging 11 years of my career, but also the most rewarding. It has been my honor to work with her as a partner, and it has been our privilege to serve the community of Ashland, the citizens of Ashland, the citizens of Hopkinton, and the citizens of the surrounding community with this service. I thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it was great to hear the stories of some of the great things he had done, and that he'll still be involved. He'll still be coming into the schools and working.
Consulting?
I don't know if he'll be consulting, but certainly still helping out, because with a lot of kids, having that connection with an animal helps them feel more comfortable with the fire department, and just like with our police department. We had Jim Daler from Amoresco, and when we talk with Town Manager Tony Schiavi, we'll get a little bit more about that, because that was a big detail and a big presentation done at our town meeting. Rob Muhlenbeck from Sustainability Committee, and we'll be getting a little update from them later in the show regarding Solar Flare, a new company that has come to Ashland, and a project that they are working with our Sustainability Committee on to help people in Ashland look at solar and determine if it's right for them. So that was a good presentation. And then we moved into one of the big issues of the evening, our BAA grant program. So the BAA grant program is we get funds from the numbers of, we have runners who run in the Boston Marathon for Ashland. To get a number, you have to commit to raising a certain amount of money. That money has come in. We also get funding from the BAA for the town to offset our issues for extra security, cleanup, and things like that. And the extra funds from that, we look at grants, and we are able to fund different projects here in Ashland. The goal, I think, for a lot of them is towards sports related or activity related. So we had a couple of sports youth groups that we were able to fund some things for. But it also helps just some of our departments do things. Our auxiliary police have always looked for extra funding because they're all volunteers and it comes out of their pocket. So if we can help them do some things, we support the concerts during the summer, we support Ashland Day. So again, people are fundraising to support activities that are going on here in Ashland. The Ashland Community Theater, we'll be talking to Joe White later. We were able to give them some money to help support their new program and bring community theater here to Ashland. And those were the big things. We also talked about town meeting, and I think everyone's pleased with how town meeting went, and now looking forward to that next step, now that town meeting and fiscal 15 budget has been passed, and on to the next great things.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for that update.
Okay.
Stick with us here on Around the Clock, and we'll be right back to announce the winner of our pothole contest at Ask the Clock.
Ever since I was a little girl, I've dreamed of my senior prom.
Having the most amazing day.
And I did.
Until I made a poor decision.
A decision that changed the rest of my life.
And the decision that ended my best friend's life.
I learned the hard way that proms and alcohol don't mix.
And I had to deal with the consequences of getting into that car every single day.
Everyone makes mistakes.
Don't let this be your last one.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Around the Clock. This is our Ask the Clock segment, and during our Ask the Clock segment, we let our viewers email us if they have any questions or suggestions about the show at ashlandaroundtheclock@gmail.com. So today's the big day, Yolanda.
Big pothole reveal.
Pothole reveal. So if you haven't caught us recently, we've been having a pothole photo contest, and folks have sent in their favorite pothole that they've found around town and sent us a picture, and we've, of course, documented those pictures and sent them on to the DPW to be filled, and the winner has been determined.
Yes, it has.
Yes, so can we get a drum roll? That's our producer. All right, so our winner for the Around the Clock Ask the Clock pothole contest.
That's quite a mouthful.
Is Bill Brown. Bill sent in a photo of his favorite pothole up on Oak Street.
Maybe least favorite pothole.
Maybe least favorite pothole, but we thank Bill for being an avid viewer and entering the contest. And what's Bill going to win?
Bill is going to get a WACA Ashland Cable mug and lunch bag, and that mug will be filled with a Dunkin' Donuts gift card.
Well, congratulations, Bill, and we'll get you that prize as soon as possible.
And we'll see about getting that pothole fixed.
That's right. That's right. It should be fixed already, but we'll double check.
Yes.
Anyway, remember, if you got any questions about what's going on around town, what we're doing at the show, what you'd like to see us do with the show, please send us a note at ashlandaroundtheclock@gmail.com. We're going to be right back with your interview of Joe White, co-founder of the Ashland
Community Theater.
Community Theater.
I look forward to speaking with you.
All right, stick with us.
Welcome back to the May 8th episode of Around the Clock. We are here with our special guest, Joe White. Joe, thank you for coming and spending a little time with us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Joe is with the Ashland Community Theater, a group that started back in the fall.
Yeah, we started kicking the tires around last summer, had some acting classes and trying to generate some interest, and around last September we started to put it in motion, and we're putting on our first show in May.
Great, so we're counting down to that first performance. When are those performances happening?
8 days, 5 minutes, and 3 seconds. Nah, somewhere around there. Actually, it's May 16th and May 17th at the Ashland Middle School, and it's a middle school theater.
Okay, and what is the performance that you're doing this time?
The performance is a short 14 scenes called Relationships A to Z. There's some comedy, some drama, 14 short little scenes about family relationships, personal relationship, friend relationships, so different types of relationships. Some, like I said, some comedy and some drama.
So a family show.
Yep.
Family with kids could come as well as elderly. Anybody would enjoy it.
I'm hoping everybody enjoys it. That's the goal. But yeah. From it's definitely family friendly, and in our show we have people ranging anywhere between the ages of 14 and 60 plus.
Okay.
And so there's some scenes in there that are going to make you think a little bit. We have some individual monologues, and then we have some comedy in there as well.
Okay, so Joe, how long have you been here in Ashland, and what made you decide to do community theater here in Ashland?
Well, I've been in Ashland for 20 years. I moved here in '94, and I've been working with the town. I ran the soccer program for a good many years, and when I retired from that a couple of years back, I decided to go back to my roots of acting, took some acting classes, and I said, you know, I think Ashland could use a community theater here. I know there are other surrounding towns that have things, and I figured I'd kick the tires and see what people would be interested in doing. There are some people that were very supportive and helped us with some studio space that we could use for some of our acting classes and workshops. And as we started to get more and more people involved, you know, I said, let's do, like in old 50s movies, let's put on a show.
Yeah, there you go.
And I wanted to do something, and I said I wanted it in town. I wanted it in Ashland. I wanted it in intimate theater. And wanted it to be in one of the school areas. I thought the high school was too big for our following. We have a minimal following. Hopefully after this we'll have a little bit more. But we want an intimate space, and the middle school theater is a very intimate area, and we're looking forward to that.
Good, good. So who else is helping you with this whole collaboration?
Yeah. Kelly Fay, who is an acting teacher. She has a theater arts major. Has done many plays, worked in London, worked in Boston, is my acting teacher, and we're putting this on together. I'm doing the producing, she's doing the directing, both acting and writing. But we're also reaching out to a lot of people in town. There's about 12 people in the program, and about 9 of the 12 are from Ashland.
Nice.
And that's my goal and objective, is to have as many people from Ashland involved in this as possible. There are many more people involved too, as far as ticket sales and stage management and other things, and we're involving the high school students in 2 ways. Some of them are going to be in the show, and some are actually doing some community service, helping out with the stage during the week of Tech Week next week and the week of and the nights of the performances.
And we have a great theater program at the high school, so it's nice to be able to give them another venue besides their school productions to be working in theater if that's something that interests them.
Yeah, I've been working with David Harrington, who's in the high school, making sure we don't conflict. It's not a competing environment. We don't want the students to pick or choose. So we've been very cognizant of the times that we're either rehearsing or doing our plays or plan to do our plays. And he's been very helpful with getting that information out to the students. Of course, I picked the night that the junior prom is going to be on the Friday night of our show, but it's the best night I can get to theater without Memorial Day and the other things that are going on. But we want more involvement from those students who are interested in that, and adults as well, not just high school students.
Good. Now, if someone was interested in sort of checking out the Ashland Community Theater, the programs that you're offering, as well as your performance coming up, where could they go?
Our website, it's ashlandcommunitytheater.com, or they can email me at ashlandcommunitytheater@gmail.com. What we did in the past and we'll be doing, we're putting on performance. We hold acting workshops for those who have never acted before and always wanted to. It's a very informal area where people can come in and talk to us about what they want. And then we actually have acting study scenes, scene study scenes that we can have people come in, and it's a 4 to 5 weeks, so it's a little bit more in depth. So it depends upon where you are, but mostly people call me up and ask the question, how do I get involved? And then, then as you can see, I'll just talk to them until they join.
So what is the play? I've never heard about this play.
Yeah.
Did you write it yourself? Is it a group effort to write it?
Yeah, there are, like I said, there's 14 different scenes, and there are about 50% of them are written by either the local artist here. There's about 6 or 7 of them written by somebody from Ashland. And then we went out and scouted some scenes that people felt comfortable with, or they wanted to bring to the when we made our theme, we said relationships. We said, what short little play would you like to present? And we had them involved, and then we worked on them. And we had about 40 to work with, and we cut it down to 14 because we can't have people there from Saturday to Sunday, because they'd be there if we did 40 scenes. So the individuals picked and chose, and they worked on them, and they are working on their own sets, their own props. So they're very involved in it from A to Z.
Very nice, very nice. So you alluded a little bit, so you started in theater. Where did you start in theater, and did you stay in theater, or did you, like many people, sort of took a path around and then came back to it? What's your story about it?
Well, 30 years ago, when I was a mere child, I was in college, and I was a theater major in Queensborough College in Queens. And I did some plays there. I did a radio show. I wrote some plays as well, and I enjoyed it. But reality hit. I moved on to the financial world, and I've been working there for quite some time, still am. But when I retired from soccer, I felt I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to fill that space with something to do, and also do something for Ashland, and continue to do something for Ashland.
Good. Well, the Board of Selectmen did grant you submitted for a BAA grant, and we were able to help to fund the performance. So I'm glad that we can do that, because as you said, we haven't had community theater here in Ashland, and for those people who are interested, they have been able to go other places, but it's nice to have it here in Ashland, and I think, and I hope that you can get a good community support. So
I hope so. And first of all, thanks very much for that grant. It will go a long way for us doing performances. That enables us to do a fall show this year, and potentially spring show. And I really do feel that it is something Ashland would like. And I'll keep promoting. I'll keep pushing. I'm not shy. I'll keep going out there and see how it goes.
Good. So I always have one question that I ask our guests when they come in. It's not too hard.
All right.
You said you've been involved with a lot of people through soccer.
Yes.
Is there something about you that people here in the community may not know that you'd be willing to share?
That I'd be willing to share that they did not know about me. Wow. There's such a list that I don't know which one to choose from. Well, probably one of the plays that I did. Well, actually, there's 2 things. Can I say 2?
Sure.
Can I have 2 seconds? Okay. One of my plays, I did. Remember the movie Tootsie? Mm-hmm. Well, I played the Dustin Hoffman part. Dressed up.
Okay.
Full. I have pictures to prove it if someone is interested. Full Dustin Hoffman Tootsie outfit.
Okay.
And then the second one would be very early on, back in 1979, I actually had a tryout for the New York Mets.
Wow.
And then I actually played a game at Shea Stadium, and then I realized that I could hit a fastball, but I could never hit a curveball, and that ended my career very quickly. So those are the 2 things that I would say people probably don't know about me.
Well, thank you for sharing them. Those are both very interesting and very diverse. So, well, good. Joe, we do need to wrap up, but I want to say thank you for coming and speaking with us, and good luck on your first performances.
Thank you.
So, Joe White from Ashland Community Theater, go check out their performances on May 16th and 17th at the Ashland Middle School.
Well, Yolanda, that was a very exciting interview with Mr. White. It almost makes me want to take acting lessons.
Well, from what he says, he's open to anybody, so you can try, Mark. It might be fun.
It might be fun.
A new skill.
A new skill, I know. That's what I need, some more skill.
Do it with no lessons. It's more challenging.
So look at, all right, well, we're here with our town personnel segment. We're very happy to Welcome back, Town Manager Tony Schiavi. Welcome aboard, Tony.
Well, thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be on Around the Clock and talk about the latest happenings around town.
And you look a little more relaxed now that town meeting's over.
Slightly more relaxed. I get to dig into the pile that's been building on the corner of the desk over the last couple of weeks as we really worked diligently pretty much every day to finalize everything for town meeting. It's certainly one of our it's our Super Bowl, basically, and so we work really hard with all the staff to make sure that everything is exactly the way it needs to be to present to the town.
Well, I don't want to be a homer like the Red Sox announcers, but as a citizen and as a selectman, I have to say I was very impressed with the preparation that went into the town meeting, the budget book, the detail that was available, the pre-meetings that were held so folks could go and find out about what's going on with the budget and the different articles that were on the warrant. Certainly a bellwether for the town of Ashland, so congratulations to you and your staff.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's been very well received. I mean, we not only did the town forums, but put a lot of information out well ahead of time. So the budget book that we put together was a really informative document. I mean, that's something that, especially the beginning part of it, can always go back and be reviewed, which really helps to educate our citizens about where we find our revenues and how it interacts with our expenses. And we talk about our opportunities and our challenges. And the other piece, I think, too, which will be good to track over the course of the next year, is really how the different departments' objectives now begin to play out. So we're going from really the planning phase of that, and once the beginning of the fiscal year starts, we go into the execution phase and the measurement phase to measure against those objectives that they all set.
Mm-hmm.
And did town meeting go as you thought? Any surprises? Anything you didn't expect?
No, I thought it went very smoothly. I was encouraged by the kind of questions we got through the budget. That part of it is always something that we want to make sure folks understand where their funding is going to. We certainly brought forth a much different approach to that. So there were a lot of things that we moved around in the budget to make it the way that we needed to moving forward, and we got a lot of thoughtful questions from the folks in the audience and in the town meeting.
And going back to what Mark said about the whole budget book going out there, we had a couple of people actually bring the budget book with them and were using it to ask their questions about the budget. So it was a real tool for people. And I think we just need to encourage more people to look at it beforehand, because there were some people looking for it at the town meeting, but it was sort of too much detail to be looking at that point.
Yeah, there was that, and also the fact that it's 74 pages. I mean, to try to print out 100 copies of that would be probably very expensive. So we hope that folks are able to do that on their own. Certainly, we try to do it on a case-by-case basis if somebody really wants a copy. But we didn't pre-print those specifically for that reason, because it is rather large. But I think the other part of it as well is that separating the two documents is important, so people know where the actual warrant is. Things that we're actually voting on at town meeting is somewhat separate from the backup, because that's what I think got a little confusing in prior town meetings, where everything was sort of all stapled together. It's a little bit difficult for folks to understand where one part of it ends and another part begins.
So there were 29 items on the warrant. Are there some you want to talk to specifically?
Well, certainly, so we had 26 general items, or general warrant articles, and we had 3 citizens petitions. So out of those 26, 25 of those passed. The ones I think of a particular note, I think obviously we established our field enterprise fund in terms of putting money in there, moved over from the school's revolving field account, and we'll begin taking over that operation from the field management group in July. So that was a great thing to get that budget passed. It's the first time we put that forth. That'll then be incorporated obviously into a yearly basis for that particular one. The Amoresco one was another really big important article for a number of reasons. One is not only the benefits it's going to bring to the town, but that we had already sort of planned for some of those savings in the FY15 budget, both on the school department and the general government side, and we're really anxious to get that kicked off. I thought that was a great discussion that we had. We had a lot of great questions. Certainly our owner's agent was there, as well as Jim Daler from Amoresco to help answer questions. So those were 2 that were, I think, very important to get done. And certainly the budget obviously is the big one as well.
And I think regarding Amoresco, it was good to hear, to remind people that it wasn't just something that just recently started. It's a project that has been looked at, and it took a good year and a half.
Long time.
For it to come to fruition and finally be able to prepare it and present it to town meeting. So I think it was positive that people heard that and supported it.
Yeah, it actually started in the prior administration when John and Mark were here, was actually the kickoff for that, and so we picked that up when we came on board, and then saw it through the fruition of what we saw last night. So.
Right.
It's interesting you said of the 26 town-sponsored warrant articles, only one didn't pass, and that was the 329 Pleasant Street
Right.
purchased. That was slated for the extension of the Marathon Park area, and I have to say personally I was disappointed. I did vote for that. I thought that that project was something that would further develop that area. That lower Pleasant Street area is being revitalized somewhat by the park there and somewhat by the church area that they're cleaning up that area there. And that whole street has sort of taken on a new look over the last couple of years. And I was disappointed that the folks that were at town meeting decided to vote against that, because it's just an area that is being improved, looking forward to sort of the rail transit district project happening and moving forward. That's an area that really brings Ashland some notoriety, being the original start of the marathon. And
and the fact that there was a project presented, 10 years ago when we first started Marathon Park, and this was always in the plans. We just didn't have the funds for it. So I think that, as you said, it was disappointing that we couldn't then expand that project and expand the plans that were already in place.
Yeah, and to mention about Pleasant Street, there is a, sort of as folks start to improve properties, it is contagious. And we met with one of the folks that's along Pleasant Street, and a fairly big part of Pleasant Street is actually looking at doing some improvements to their property, bringing in shrubs and trees. The Gamewell property's now been sold, and there's going to be some efforts in the facelift of that building. So that corridor right there is actually getting some attention. This would have been a great, addition to that. And I think what struck me as I obviously going through the research as also a voter as well as the town manager was really understanding that this really was part of the original plan way back at the inception to purchase this property to expand the park, but also that it was going to connect to another very important project, the Riverwalk project. So it's unfortunate there's going to potentially be some disconnects unless it comes back again before town meeting at some point. But so that was because I voted for it as well from that that standpoint, because it is a here and now project that we can do. Certainly other things that we're doing in the downtown revitalization as well as looking at town greens and stuff, those are things that are still viable, and I support those as well, both as a citizen and a representative of the town. But they're a ways off because of some of the logistics of that area. But we'll still proceed with that, and so we'll see where things go from here.
So we should speak briefly about the 3 citizens petitions, because this is something new that's come up this year we haven't had before, and they were I believe there was 2 of the 3 were. Well, actually, one was
only
vigorously
one
discussed.
One was discussed and
actually
actually had a vote on it with a change. So it was the petition, as we had talked about on one of our earlier shows, was to increase the number of the amount of people needed for a quorum at town meeting. It was 5, and that was put in place many years ago when there weren't people sitting in the auditorium for town meeting. The presentation was they had wanted to make it 75, which many people felt was just too many, as we've seen at some of our special town meetings. So there was discussion, and it passed for 25. So they need 25 registered voters for a quorum. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think interestingly, and I think, I'm not sure which woman brought this up, but I think the focus really needs to be more on educating our citizens about civic engagement versus what I would sort of call, forced participation, which is essentially what we're raising the quorum really does. My feeling is a quorum should never be an issue, that folks are interested in what's going on in their government, but you still need to set it at a reasonable number to be able to get business accomplished. And as a mathematician, with 10,000 registered voters, whether it's 25 or 75, I mean, it's really statistically insignificant in terms of representation. So, setting it at a number, and I was supportive of the 25, because I think that's achievable. But really, you shouldn't be through forced participation. And we did through our Blackboard Connect, we reached over 2,000 people via email and text messaging, the electronic signs, the newspaper articles, Ashland Directions, mentioning on the show, Board of Selectmen meetings. I mean, certainly there was plenty of that out there. I think that what I would recommend for the legislative body, if this they want more participation, for them to actually take the lead in that. I don't look at it necessarily as government's responsibility to encourage folks, although we are doing our part because we still think it's important. I mean, this fall we hope to have our first Citizens Leadership Academy, again, as one of those ways to garner interest in town government. to participate on boards and committees, but also to participate in town meeting and have a voice in what's going on. So I think that's really the approach versus perhaps raising the quorum to a level that may not be sustainable and could stop business at any point if somebody asks for a count.
And I do believe part of the process is the fact that we're the elected representatives and are supposed to be doing the work for those who elect us. If they want to watch the show on cable live, then that's their right to do it, and they expect us to carry on business appropriately.
Yeah, and it could be a sign of, and I don't think we should look at it as automatically thinking it's disinterest. It could be trust. I mean,
exactly.
I think we're working hard to have transparency, building trust in the decisions that we're making, putting things out there. That perhaps, I always try not to look at the glass half full, that perhaps there's a feeling in our community that we're all doing a good job. Our elected officials, our hired professional managers that we have, and our staff are doing a good job in taking care of our folks' tax dollars and making good decisions, the best ones that we can, and maybe that's really a sign of the trust that's there.
And that's typical in this town. You'll see we'll have an election coming up in 3 weeks, and all the slots are uncontested, which is typically means that everyone's happy. There's no real outstanding issues that are firing people up that come out and run themselves. So you have to look at it on the positive side. I agree. All right, so town meeting's behind us a little bit, and what's coming up?
Well, certainly we're going to close out the fiscal year. That's number one. So we have a number of capital projects. I was just driving over here and saw the DPW crews out putting out mulch around some of our town parks over on Front Street. I'm sure they'll be getting to Town Hall. I saw the folks filling potholes, so that's great. We did get another $70,000 from the state to help repair potholes. We have a number of road projects, sidewalk projects that are still to be completed in FY14. So we're doing all of that work. We're certainly getting ready to kick off our Commonwealth Citizens Connect app program. So we're excited about rolling that out. I think that's going to be a great interactive way for folks to participate in different activities and letting us know of different issues that are out there. So those are there as well. And I found out very quickly that we're already starting to talk about the fall town meeting. So making sure we start collecting our list of things. The other piece that passed last night was certainly our other post-employment benefit trust fund. So we're working again through Christine Broder, our town treasurer, to establish that trust fund, documents, bring that before town meeting in the fall. And it'll be a time for the staff to take some vacation too and get a little rest, recharge their batteries. I'll be going on vacation actually the end of next week myself, which will be the first one in a year. So we're looking forward to that. And so just lots of great things going on.
Good. Okay.
All right, well, we appreciate you coming down and giving us the update, and as you know, you're always welcome here.
Great, thank you very much.
We like to help the folks understand what really is going on.
Welcome back to Around the Clock. This is our Around the Tour portion. We're going to talk to you about some things that have happened already in town and also some future events that are going to be coming up. The first event that we're talking about is the community discussion on youth substance abuse. It happened on Thursday, May 1st, and it was sponsored by the Decisions at Every Turn Coalition. They hosted a community discussion about underage drinking and drug use in Ashland. It was a facilitated discussion and that asked people to talk about their attitudes and perceptions regarding youth substance abuse, as well as consideration for appropriate consequences when youth are found in possession or under the influence of alcohol or other drugs. Chief Craig Davis from the Ashland Police was the keynote speaker and provided the audience with an update about the opiate prevention steps that Ashland has taken, including the installation of a permanent drug box in the foyer of the Ashland Police Department, also a drug take-back day that was sponsored in collaboration with the Lions Club, and training of our Ashland police officers in the use of Narcan, which is a drug that can reverse the effects of an opiate overdose. The chief expressed his hesitation on arresting youth for alcohol offenses, stating that he did not want to ruin lives over bad decisions. Also, about 70 people attended this first series of community discussions, and they're hoping to host more in the coming months. And if you're interested in getting more information about the Decisions at Every Turn Coalition, you can go to their website, ashlanddecisions.org, or contact Erica Dinnerman, who is leading this organization in this drug discussion. So we've talked a lot about this organization, and they're doing some great things, and we look forward to hearing more about what they're going to be doing this summer. Mark?
And the chief and the police just had their drug take-back day.
Yes.
I think 130 pounds of prescription drugs were turned in.
Yeah.
And materials. So.
And they have their box there now permanently, so you don't have to wait for that special drug take-back day. If you're done with something, you can get it out of the house as soon as possible.
There you go. And to stay on the police theme for just one more moment, the police, actually Ashland Police hosted a firearms training event at the DPW yard. They brought in a special trailer, simulated shooting, gunfire. So our roving director was down there taking some shots and interviewing some folks.
Taking some video. He did
shots.
not take any shots.
Shoot. That's correct. Thank you for correcting. And I think you'll get to see Lieutenant Briggs practicing in the simulator, and an interview with Chief Davis, as well as Gregory Carter from the Sheriff's Department, who was helping run the event there. So.
The gun. Drop the gun. Put the gun down. Put the gun down. Put the gun on the ground. Put the gun down. Shoot, 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 shoot.
There's computer-generated scenarios inside that trailer that require an officer to make decisions whether to use force, whether not to use force, and then at what level force to use, up to including lethal force. And so it tests the officer's decision-making, it tests the officer's marksmanship skills and their verbal communication to the scenario that's playing out in front of them.
This was developed in Texas by Laser Shot. It was basically created for the military. Mainly the high-end military, Delta Force and SEALs, so they could train on ships where you can't be shooting live rounds on a ship. So they developed this. It's 100% bulletproof, so you can shoot any way around in there. We don't want you to. And they're able to train, and then it got offered up to law enforcement. Oh, they can expect to get in to see if they're able to make correct decisions, you know, and then if they have to shoot, it's a lot different than shooting on a live range at paper than shooting at a person that's moving. They may be sideways, they may have a hostage in front of them, so they have to feel comfortable and know whether they can make that shot.
Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Drop the gun.
There's 2 cameras in there where we can actually watch the officer from the front and back to see what he's doing.
I think the police enjoyed that little simulated event, and it was good training. We had surrounding police departments send in some folks also.
And it was done at no cost. The cost was the ammunition that was used for the training, but it was something that Chief Davis was able to schedule and come in to get some training for our officers, but at no cost for us. So, yeah.
Nice little event.
Yep.
And then last Saturday was Green Up Ashland Day.
Green Up Ashland Day. It's always the first Saturday in May, and it's a great day to go out and do some cleanup. And we have some footage that was shot by one of the participants of Green Up Ashland. You might have seen them on Saturday morning, or you might have seen the yellow bags of trash sitting around. I don't know exactly how much was collected, but I know they hit a lot of the areas where people were able to write in and say there was a lot of trash here. So there was a lot of good areas that were taken, a lot of good participation. There were some great t-shirts given out. So enjoy the footage of Green Up Ashland as well.
We're going green. We're going green. We're gonna take care of the earth. We're going green. You can go green at your home or school. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Be careful how long you take a shower. You don't need to stand there for 70 hours. Turn off the water when you're brushing your teeth and only use the necessary energy. Turn off the lights when they're not in use. Think how much electricity you produce. Take quick drinks, walk to school. Reducing energy is really cool. Pull out plugs when you're not using them. Turn off the computer every now and then. Throw away litter, pick up trash, and you'll save the earth in a flash. We're going green. We're going green. We're gonna take care of the earth. We're going green.
Wow.
And sticking with the Green Day focus, the Sustainability Committee has announced the start of the Ashland Solar Challenge. That program offers homeowners and small businesses significantly discounted pricing for rooftop solar panels. So if you want to learn more about that, there's going to be a Solar 101 course offered on Wednesday, May 21st, from 7 to 9 p.m. at the community center.
Unfortunately, we won't be able to go because we'll be in a meeting.
Yes.
But you can go and then catch up on the selectmen issues at around the clock.
That's right, and I believe at our next show we'll have Patricia Kendall, the chair of the Sustainability Committee. I think she's going to come on and talk to us about the program, and we'll have some footage of the 101, Solar 101 course.
Great, sounds good, sounds good. So that's what has happened, and what are some of the great things coming up, Mark?
Well, I would like to give a shout out to the Ashland Music and Arts Festival, which got a go-ahead from the Ashland Redevelopment Association, and so that event is going to be held September 27th, this upcoming September 27th. It's going to feature local musicians and artists performing in downtown Ashland. The center of the event will be at Stone Park, and we'll be utilizing Summer Street for artists to put up their tents, sell their wares, show their skills. There'll be food vendors along the fence at Stone Park, hawking barbecue and other goodies, and there'll be live music all day and activities going on. So this is going to be our first Ashland Music and Arts Festival. We're looking forward to it to be an exciting, fun-filled event for the community and folks around Ashland to come down to, and hopefully build a tradition to have this event every year.
Good. It's nice to see new and upcoming things coming forward to Ashland. We have the community theater that we spoke to. We have the Arts Festival. We have the continuation of our summer concert series. So farmers markets coming up in June. So a lot of fun things and a lot of great things that people can do in Ashland and stay in Ashland.
That's right. So if you want to be involved, you want to be a volunteer, you want to have an artist tent, you want to be a musician playing that day, or if you just want to sponsor and make a donation, send us a note to info@ashlandredevelopment.com. Stick with us, we're going to be right back. We got our latest update on varsity sports from Athletic Director Ryan Quigley, and we'll bring that to you in just a moment. All right, welcome back. It's time for our varsity sports update. Thank you, Mr. Quigley. Lots of stuff going on at the high school.
It's springtime.
It's springtime.
Fields are busy.
So let's roll the tape.
Okay. In baseball, after yesterday's hard-fought 4-1 win over Holliston, the boys have improved their record to 8-6, winners of 4 in a row. Coach Messier's squad seems to be finding their groove and are seeking a return trip to the D3 South Sectional Tourney. Good for them.
Yeah. Softball, too. First-year coach Jackie Long has the girls working hard this spring. Their record is not indicative of whatsoever of how competitive they've been in the tough Tri-Valley League. The girls have had several heartbreaking losses in the last inning, but they're coming along, and they look to finish the season on a high note.
Good. Nice to hear. In boys lacrosse, Coach Norton's crew boasts a 9-6 record after Thursday's win over Medway High School. And like baseball, boys lacrosse looks to return to the state tournament this spring. They have a demanding 5 games on their schedule, so we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, they're going to have to pull it out at the wire.
Yeah.
Girls lacrosse, however, is still in the hunt for their return to the D2 South Sectional Tournament. Once again, the girls have been playing a demanding schedule with the likes of Westwood, Medfield DS, and non-league foe Foxborough. Senior Caitlin Greaves eclipsed a 200-goal mark this season for her career, and junior Sophia Poria was selected to represent the Lower New England at the National Tournament in Baltimore. She'll be down there later this month, so congratulations to both athletes and good luck to the ladies for the rest of the way.
And that was Caitlin Graves, not Greaves.
Oh, that's right.
Don't want to mix those
Sorry,
names up.
Sorry.
In boys tennis, Coach Roman's team is on the cusp of returning to the state tournament this spring. Freshman Max Freeman and senior Miles Koplow will be competing in individual state tournaments this weekend for the Clockers. Freeman boasts an 11-0 record as #1 singles entering the tournament. That's fabulous. Good for
Freshman
him.
phenom. That kid's unbelievable. Girls tennis, Coach Wilkins has also has the girls playing at an extremely high level. The girls are still in contention for their state tournament booth. So very productive teams this spring. Freshman Heidi Osterhout is impressed at #1 singles. Keep it up, ladies, and good luck.
And then going on to boys and girls track, the spring has seen some unbelievable performances from our boys and girls track teams. Leading the way for the Clockers have been Tommy Hamilton, Colin Mahoney, Jenna Heaps, and Maddie Zeliff. The future looks bright as well as freshman Alyssa Z continues to impress with her sprinting ability in the 100 and 200. Sophomore John Almeida has also had some great performances in the hurdles. We also would like to wish them good luck as they go to the TVL Championship meet in Westwood in 2 weeks.
So if you get a chance, get out and root on your favorite varsity sport athletes or catch some of those sports right here on WACA-TV.
That's right.
All right, so we're coming down to our final comment segment.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, I'll let you thank the guest today, and I've got a little rant, I think.
Oh, a rant. Instead of a shout-out, we're ranting today.
We're ranting this week.
Well, I would like to thank Tony Schiavi, our town manager, for coming in, and also congratulate him and all the staff on a great job for preparing the town meeting information, the report, and the budget book. It was great information for people to have. I'd like to thank Joe White for coming on and telling us about his Ashland Community Theater and wish them well in their performances coming up. If you're looking for something to do on May 16th and 17th, go support some local actors and actresses as they show you what they're doing. So that's a nice thing. And that's it for guests. So I'm going to let you rant, Mark.
Well, I just want to say we enjoy doing the show, and we've been doing the show since September now. And our deal here is to try and help all the folks at View and the folks around Ashland to understand, what's going on with the town government. And certainly this past year has been a refreshing look at Ashland and the improvements going on at the town government side. So if you had the chance to catch Town Manager Tony Schiavi earlier on when we were talking about the town meeting, it was a very well thought out, put on town meeting last night, and a lot got accomplished. But I did want to touch on one point. There was a citizen's petition to change the quorum amount of folks that you need to have for a town meeting. So our original guidelines for the past several years has been you just need 5 people to have a quorum. And we had a citizen's petition come forward that went on to the warrant to change that to 75 people. So there was a lively discussion, and as we discussed earlier, through that discussion, that number got changed to 25 because there are some meetings where there's just some special 1 or 2 warrant articles that have to get done that we don't always get participation in the numbers that we would need.
And I think the thing for people to remember, not to interrupt your rant,
that's all right.
But one of the town meetings that I think people were referencing when they were concerned about, there was hardly anybody there, we had a special town meeting last spring, but it was one of those things that if we did not do that town meeting, we would not be able to follow through on some funding or grants or something that had already been decided on.
So I guess my rant for today, and this is does not reflect the views and thoughts of WACA-TV, is you have almost 17,000 folks in Ashland now, and the folks that represent them are duly elected and are trusted to carry on the town's business. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it and what seat you're sitting in, there is a small amount of folks in town who regularly attend town meeting and other committee meetings who have been able to manage the town meeting process or the committee process rules and vote to have things done the way they would like to have them done personally, and that is certainly their constitutional right. The core of my rant is, for everyone else there, we'd like to have you come out to town meeting. We'd like to have you trust our decisions. But if you see a result at the town meeting that isn't what you would like, or something happened that you don't know about, like my personal disappointment that 329 Pleasant Street didn't pass, then I only have myself to blame if I don't go. And I will remind folks that if you watch our show, we try and give you the straight skinny on what's going on, and sometimes what you hear in other places isn't accurate. And sometimes decisions are made that affect the town and the ability of the town to move forward based on information that is portrayed that is not accurate. So we're happy to help you out with any questions you have. We encourage folks to go to the town meetings, go to these committees and find out what's going on. Ashland is moving forward, and you can be part of that, or you can watch from home and watch what's going on. But I think there's still some opportunity for information to be a little more accurate and better decisions to be made for our town to make Ashland the place we all want to be in.
And it's that same thing, you know, I've always heard this. If you don't vote, if you are not involved in the process, it's hard to complain. If you see something you don't like, get involved and help it change if necessary.
Yeah. So come back and see us again here at Around the Clock. If you have any questions, send them in at ashlandaroundtheclock@gmail.com, and we appreciate you tuning in.
Thanks for watching.
Town Manager. Tony, how are things going?
Good afternoon. Grief has consumed a local community after two teenage sisters died in an early morning crash.
17-year-old Shauna Murphy and her 15-year-old sister Megan were killed when the Land Rover they were riding in smashed into a utility pole in Southborough around 1 o'clock this morning. A third teen is hospitalized with serious injuries.
You know, they were like the type of person that you'd go to and, you know, say, oh, where's my class? And, you know, they would be like, oh, let me take you there.
So we get a phone call that's saying, I wanted to ask you how many people were in your car. You know, do you own a Land Rover? And we said, yes. And they said, do you know how many people were in it? We said, we're not sure. You know, why are you asking? I said, I really can't tell you. And we asked you, you know, what do you mean you can't tell us? And he says, well, you know, I'll get back to you. And so we called back a few minutes later and finally heard that there was an accident and that they were looking for, you know, the participants in the car.
While this was going on, we got a report that Chris and Michelle that Michelle, was back at the fire station, had gone there.
I went immediately down to the fire station because I'm an EMT and I know the EMTs and I know all the guys down at the fire department, so I was down there immediately. And I knew there was something wrong.
And when I pulled up on the scene and saw a car impaled upside down on a telephone pole and the responders standing around, and there were 6 separate 13,800 volt electric lines that were on the telephone pole. And because the midsection of the telephone pole was removed in the accident, the wires sagged and they were arcing on the trees.
It was like I knew I was in an accident, but I didn't even know the car hit a pole. I didn't know we were in the air. I thought it was on the ground just to the side. And the next thing I remembered after that was just being upside down and like being crushed and just like seeing lights. And I didn't know, like, I didn't really, obviously I was in shock, so I didn't really know what was going on.
After a while, the word came back to the station that that the girl who was still alive was, in fact, Melissa Smith. And I'll never forget this till the day I die. When Michelle heard that, she said, "Oh my God, Megan's in the car."
Shauna had found a license of a girl at Fairfield University when she was down visiting in previous weeks, and was able to buy some alcohol. And from what we understand is she brought some alcohol in a Sprite bottle, and that she had called Megan to invite her to the party as well. So instead of going to the movies, she picked them up at the movie theater just before they were ready to go in and brought them to the party. And apparently they were there till like 11:30, and then apparently their friends left the party, and they were staying on playing Beirut or beer pong or a game similar, and then they decided to head home.
She honestly didn't seem that drunk, but then again, like, obviously I had been drinking too. But she wasn't like falling or tripping. Obviously me and Meg didn't realize like the severity of the situation kind of thing, and like we'd never really driven with anyone drunk.
I said, just be safe, and just drive safe, and just be safe.
And you just think, oh, that's never gonna happen to me. And here it is, like my group of like best friends, like two amazing girls, sisters, you know, everything going for them, and like it just shows that it really can happen to anyone. And if anything, I'm legitimately the most fortunate person ever.
Shauna and Megan, if they had to tell a story, the story would be, we made a mistake, but it cost us our life. You know, don't make the same mistake we did. And that's, I think, the message.
The program it starts from like 10 to 2 in the morning, is what it was. And you have 2 volunteers at least per night, and there's a Safe Rides phone that the Murphy Foundation pays for. And if anyone can call it in Northborough and Southborough, and they will pick them up and drive them home, no questions asked.
It should be a part of the curriculum, you know, even though it's not mandatory. We feel that that there's just too many distractions now when you're driving a car. There's the radio, there's the cell phone, there's the iPods, and there's kids in the car, and just you know, just too many distractions. And we decided to move from Southborough to Gloucester and try to reinvent ourselves and try to have a new next phase in our life. So, you know, we always dreamt of becoming empty nesters, but we didn't dream of having an accident force us to be empty nesters.
I think Christmas.
You know, it's their birthdays, it's the graduations that would have taken place. I think, you know, like it was tough knowing that all of Shauna's friends graduated and she didn't. They did a great valedictorian, Mel?
All Meg's kids are gonna graduate this year, and so it's hard to, you know, those memorial places that, and for me as a mother, it's hard to think that, you know, they're not gonna get married and have a kid. You know, there's not going to be a marriage. There's not going to be a kid.
It's the life events that you miss. Yeah, we just don't ever want them to be forgotten.
We don't want
just had a big impact.